Welcome everybody to our Mayhem in the Mountains 2018 list review. Everybody introduce yourself that's on the call here.
Hey, David.
Hey, good evening, guys. It's Jeff Durham.
What's up, Jurand?
What's up, it's Pablo.
All right, excellent. We're going to have Pete join us here in a little bit as well. The first thing we're going to start with tonight is going to be our grudge matches. We have 3 different grudge matches, and the first one is going to be an epic dwarf off because this is a carryover from the Wicked GT in Wichita where David and Pete have a grudge going. And I believe we're going to have Jeff reviewing the list on these, aren't we?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, let me go ahead and get these pulled up. All right, so here is David's list. So go ahead, Jeff.
So the biggest thing with his king, like we were going to talk about, just mostly character, is going to be on a war throne. So he's going to get those 3 units for hatred that he gets to pick. He's got the D3 wounds on a great weapon. So little limiting in that it'll go last, but he's got a lot of wounds and a good ward save. He's got 3 runes of shielding, so I'll give him a 4+ ward. So definitely a tough guy to fight. And then he's got a Thane with standard of shielding, so typical build there in that going to get a 5+ ward save for whatever unit they're in. I assume he'll put those with the big unit of warriors.
It's the warrior.
Rune Smith with 3 battle runes. Rune of Devouring, so that one spell you want to get off, you'll get it once. And then, of course, Anvil of Power, which is nice. Nice 36-inch range on those buffs. One thing I really like about David's list actually is his unit of Rangers. Those 3+ crossbows and being able to scout. He's going to be shooting a lot right up front. Then a couple steam copters there to really get in the way. Everything else looks pretty standard. But overall, I think those Rangers and that big block's going to be a real pain in the rear for Pete because he's got a lot of little units. So if we want to look at his list.
All right, Pete's is up.
Yeah,
so down. His is kind of backwards. Let me go down to his heroes.
His heroes are all over the place.
Yeah, he's only got. Yeah, he's only got.
It's not coincidence.
So his general, of course, is his engineer, who's naked, which is just hanging out in the back, something for those copters to go shoot. And then he's got lots of little units of warriors, 2 of those, and then little units of marksmen with the guns. So if you get into close range, those strength 4 AP2s can be hurt. Pete's list, those the strength are his seekers, which he likes to hide the dragon seeker characters in. He's got one that's got the rune of smashing. So again, strength 5 or toughness 5 or more, you're going to get strength 10 hits. And then the other one's got the D3 wounds. So again, those 2 guys are pretty nasty, and he'll put them in the big block of seekers, which he's got, I believe, 23 of those. Typical build with artillery. He's got an organ gun that's rune crafted and just a regular cannon, which depending on whichever one he needs, he'll put the engineer near, so then get that 3+ to hit. Additionally, he's got a unit of skirmishing seekers that he loves to use to block things, and kind of that's his little chaffy unit. Of course, the miners for scoring, you got to always watch those. And then the 2 little pain in the rear seekers themselves, little vengeance seekers that he puts out there for chaff. Loves to take out characters with those. So you got to watch those. And also 2 more steam copters. So maybe we'll have an air battle with the 2 dwarves. So I think definitely going to be 2 different types of lists for dwarves. Going to be a good matchup.
I agree. I'm very excited to see how this one plays out.
Also, Peter got his Rune of Denial, so he's going to be able to stop one of the magic phases for David, or he should be able to at least really nerf it hard. Like maybe David will get 1 phase, only 1 spell.
Yes.
So I think the one thing that we didn't talk about in David's list that Pete's gonna have to worry about is also those hold guardians, because those things are those are going to be pretty tough for him to get through.
The Seekers.
The Seekers can do a number on those.
And the organ gun.
The Dragon Seekers.
He's wounding on 3s, AP3.
Yeah, he's going to definitely have to play those hold guardians, I would say, in a more conservative approach.
I'm not sure whether you're going to have them vanguard or have extra strength.
Yeah.
I don't know quite yet. We'll see.
Choice.
You don't have to tell us all your tricks there, David.
I think I'm going to go with the agility, right?
Initiative, because this could be the game where it actually works.
All right, so what are you guys predicting for the outcome of this one?
I'm going to go 15 for Peter, actually.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I'm going 14, Peter.
The big thing is I just don't have anything that can deal with those seekers. So I mean, we'll see. It's a game of dice, but it's gonna be a task.
Well, I was gonna go for you, David, but if you're already giving it to Peter, then it's kind of tough to give me to get my vote.
He's downplaying
Yeah,
himself.
exactly, dude. He's trolling right now.
See, and for me being a dwarf player, I actually like David's list better. But I would play his list the way I play it. So Pete's really good at his MSEU dwarves, but I think there's a lot of weaknesses if you concentrate fire. So just something to consider. But David, if you play that right, I give it to you.
It also depends whether he's going to start the game or not. Who's going to start the game? If Peter is going to be able to start it, he's going to have more shooting. That's going to hurt David much more.
I think it has to do with like threat ranges too. It's going to be very hard to kill and a hardcover organ gun, and that unit terrifies actually most units in the list, especially if David's BSB gets away from the rest of the shooting units, and I think those kind of fall apart after that happens. And I think it has to in order to try and like threaten the rest of the army.
Yeah, but the one thing, David, too, I think every turn but that one with the Nile, he'll get 2 buffs off at least. So that'll help him even against the Seekers.
Besides one turn where the Rune of the Nile is going to eat 3 of his dice, most likely.
Yeah. So again, those Hold Guardians with, hard target distracting on them and, other buffs, those could be a nasty little unit.
Absolutely.
Well, if he can snipe off the artillery with his shooting, the handgunners and the crossbows, right? Do you have crossbows in there?
Yeah,
Rangers.
Rangers, and then it can actually swing hard, but it's all in the dice, really.
Overall, I rate the Rangers, and I like
Yes.
the design of the list. I think the matchup is not very good, which is I think what we're getting on.
All right. Well, good luck, David.
All right, so let's move on to the next grudge match. So we have Jurand and Kurt, who are grudging, and I believe Jurand, you get to review both of these lists.
Yes, I do. So the list that I designed.
It's awful.
Okay, so the list is mostly designed by Pablo over here, just so that everybody knows what's going on over here. But I put a key touch in there.
You stole it just like a good Skaven.
Yeah, exactly. Just the Verminous Apprentice.
I built lists like true Skaven does. Okay. So there is a Magister. He has a crown of autocracy and the binding scroll on the bill. BSB is naked. He doesn't have anything really. There is a Vermin Guard with lightning rod, so no flying. Everything gets a hard target. And that's it for characters, really. The next important thing in the list is there are 2 units of Vermin Hulks, of Thunder Hulks. One have NASA throwers, and 1 unit has globe launchers. Then there are 3 weapon teams with 2 weapon teams with globe launchers. There are 2 dreadnoughts, 2 units of 4 of Jezzails, and 1 plague catapult. So there is a lot of things that are shooting with no armor save in that list. The catapult always have toxic attacks, so even if I miss the first shot, the second shot is always also strength 3, AP 10. Whereas I'm playing Kurt, who's playing Empire of Sonnstahl. And he has to start, his general is a knight commander with a line of Sonnstahl on the horse, and that's it. So he's going to be fearless, he's going to have a parent unit, he's going to be in the unit of one of the electoral cavalries. I believe he's going to be in the unit of the 8 with the champion and the standard bearers. Then he has a BSB with Imperial Seal, Inquisitor with Hammer of Witches and Black Steel, Prelate with Death Cheater, Wizard Apprentice on the Arcane Engine, 2 units of Electoral Cavaleries, 8 and 5. He's going to have 10 handgunners, 10 crossbowmen, and another 10 handgunners. Unit of 20 swordsmen, 26 Imperial Guard with great weapon, and 26 Imperial Guard with shield. And then for artillery, he has Imperial Rocketeers, and he closes his list with Flagellants, which is an extremely fun unit because in the close combat, they're always removed at initiative 0, and they're unbreakable. So you definitely, nobody wants to get into combat with that unit. All right, so those are both lists, really.
So I know you're not going to give away all of your strategy there, but what do you think on this matchup? Maybe Pablo should answer that.
I think overall it's definitely positive. Kurt has the rocket team. I think depends on how long that can stay alive, because that will put the hurt on Dreadnoughts and also Hulks like quite quickly, and you can also like place hits onto the Magister if he wants to. You know, like 1 a turn is still like pretty solid for a D3 Wounder. But I think overall the matchup is going to be good for Jurand because Kurt has some shooting, doesn't have that much shooting. I don't really see any chaff for the most part in the list.
Yeah, only 5 Electoral Cavalry.
Yeah, and like there's a bunch of toxic shots going at those, so I think they're going to have a tough time. And yeah, I think it's going to probably. I would predict. I don't know. I predict like 17-3.
Well, when you were speaking of chaff, Jurand completely overlooked on his list that he has 3 units of giant rats, which are perfect chaff, as well as 2 foot pads. So he is loaded down with chaff.
Totally.
Yes, my list has a ton of chaff. Everything really can be used as chaff besides the bell, really. If the situation is right, that's how I always used to play Vermin Swarm, and this list works with it perfectly.
All right, David, what do you think about this?
Again, I think the big thing is all the toxic attacks. The Empire player is paying a lot for armor that he may or may not be able to get. I mean, Thaumaturgy is always fun as far as with artillery, killing comets and everything else. So, and then once you start mixing in the minus resistance with that, all the toxic, that can get ugly really fast. So,
especially for T3 Empire.
Yeah, once the T3 goes down to T2, that's where that plague catapult starts eating units. So it's gonna be a thing. I mean, the big thing is if the Empire player gets into your end, it's gonna be he can do some killing, but it's just gonna be a long slog across the field.
Yeah, that's a lot to get through for sure. All right, shall we move on to the next grudge match?
Third and final, right?
Yeah, third and final grudge match. So we have Roe versus Kenyon.
The people who really care about this game, they grudge match. Right, David?
I agree. I think all of these first rounds should be grudge matches.
It's kind of hard. I mean, sometimes you don't know people or whatever. So
no, you would hope they're not ever.
So I will say some of these lists, Army Builder is going to show some errors, and that's just because they didn't have them right on there. So we have checked all the lists, and they're all correct. So when you see the red on here, again, it's already been checked.
Okay.
All right, and so Pablo, I think you are on the Beast Herds.
Yeah, so Roe is running just a pretty kind of in-your-face list. He has a Minor Warlord and a Minor Chieftain BSB, and the Minor Warlord has kind of horns, so he's there. That's like just makes the army much more reliable. And if I have Aegis, and he's just a very, very strong, nasty character that in combat. No magic though. And then 2 big blocks of Wild Horns. One of them has Ambush. But he doesn't have the horn, so it's still pretty good, but not as good as then. 2 units, 5 gargoyles, pretty solid chaff. Big unit of longhorns. I think it's really like just a big he has a lot of big bricks. And just a very fast list. With the Minotaurs, 2 Gottshcalks and Razor. Yeah, it's pretty much a blunt force list. Right, your face.
Yes, he's going to be running right into his opponent, which is Kenyon, who's doing Saurian Ancients.
Yeah, on Kenyon's list, he's changed it up a little bit. He's gone with a Cayman Ancient for a general, which I'm struggling to find out where he's going to put it. He might put him right inside the Skink Braves, or he might run it all by himself because he's got the Raptor Spirit on there. But he went with Alchemist Alloy, which was a little confusing because now he's going to be hitting maybe even on 5s on greater characters with that Ancient. So not quite sure what he's doing with that. But then he's gone with a whole bunch of captains that he's going to probably put in front of the block of 40 Skink Braves with the Poison Banner. So you're going to get a lot of poison attacks. He's gone away from the Big Toad and gone with just a Skink Priest. That first spell he's going to cast is going to get the +2. And again, going with Druidism. So he's definitely going to buff that big unit. He's got some good chaff with the Skink Braves, though, 15 of them, or 3 units of 15, I'm sorry. And then, of course, Chameleons. Where I really like Kenyon's list is when it comes down to the bottom here. He's gone with 2 units of Ramphidons and Pteranodons. So he's got a lot of shooting and a lot of flying stuff that's going to cause problems for people probably on the flank. And then he's gone with 3 Stygiosaurs, 2 of them being casters. So that's going to probably get him 2 magic missiles, probably the Hereditary, and then the Swarm of Insects. And then he'll go with the buffs, 1 on each of the other one. And then another Stygiosaur. So if they all get in at the same time, you can imagine 3 breath weapons and all of those attacks. And when I think of Rowe's list, he doesn't have anything to shoot these guys. So these guys are going to be able to walk around and run around pretty much all they want and charge when they want. So that's going to be real interesting. But again, a lot of Skink Braves, and he's got a lot of chaff. So I don't see those Minotaurs getting the charge in. They're going to end up fighting a lot of little skinks.
I think this whole game is going to boil down to how well Kenyon uses his chaff and keeps Rowe out of where he wants to be.
And those guards definitely will help Rowe as far as if he can, get them into the hunters or the camis to try to do some killing there. I think Rowe has a lot of speed, and he's given up totally on the shooting and the magic side of the game, so he's going to have more power than you'd normally expect from a list. Those Gottshcalks can do horrible things to Stygiosaurs. They're, really beastly, especially if they start rolling 6s on the lethal strikes and getting the D3 wounds.
The challenge will be getting to him, though, because they're the same speed.
Yeah,
right?
He's not that fast, is the thing. He's not that fast. And the thing is, I think the gargoyles are going to be really good in a lot of matchups, but Kenyon's flying units are very, very good at killing units like that very quickly. And I think once that is done, he'll have more or less complete control over the chaff game for the rest of the game.
I give an edge to Kenyon also. It really depends if Rowe is going to roll for his charge, box cards, to 6s or stuff like this. It can end up really badly, really quick for Kenyon. But I just think he's going to be flying around and just pissing Rowe off for 5 turns, and then he's going to finish him off.
And then look at the armor on the beast herd side, and look at that big old block of 40 skinks with all those characters and 5 of poison.
Yeah, and then the other thing, too, is he's got that poison shooting. So if he can get around those Gottshcalks and just start throwing, and, the blowpipes are +1 to hit.
And with no range, each of those skink characters can be chaff.
Yep.
And they have no armor save, though, Gottshcalk, so they're going to start eating wounds left and right.
Well, I love that Kenyon built a list that is a full 2 pages long. He has a lot of stuff in here.
The Ramphidons are new for him, though. He's going to have to be careful with the frenzy on them because their leadership sucks. So that can be a limiting thing for him. So, and I know these are new for him because he called me to want to borrow mine. So we'll see how he uses them. If he uses them well, they can be a big threat.
Yeah, just put them backwards and try to fly on the flank and behind, and then prepare for charge so they can go and stop a unit charging them from a flank, for example, and just sticking in there in the combat and locking the unit down.
Exactly.
Well, I think I'm going to get this slightly to Kenyon as well, but with the one caveat, if he doesn't get him chaffed up right for Roe is just going to steamroll over him.
So pretty much everything goes Kenyon.
All right, so now we're going to move on to the regular matchups, and so with these, we did them a little different. We have in the past. We actually used tournament finishes over several tournaments, and we tried to match people up that had close to the similar. So we're going to see some very epic first games, and the first one that we have up is going to be Justin against Jeff.
I want to actually say a word about it. I think that pairing is the best pairings that I've seen so far. Like, it's the amount of really competitive games that are going to happen turn one right away. Really good games is amazing. I think that the way you guys did the matchups is awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I spent a lot of time looking over the regional tournaments and tried to get it as close as possible, and I definitely feel like we're going to see some fun games.
Oh yeah.
All right, so let's start with Burgy's list. So first he has the High Prince. I really like this guy. He's for magic. It's so easy for him to get so many different spells that can really help the army out there. And he's not running any sort of special save on him, but he does have the 1-up armor save. And I don't think he's really wanting him into that much combat anyway. And he's got the Lucky Charm on him. The commander is going to be the Queen's Companion, and with that, it's going to give you the quick to fire. I think that's really the best way to go with your BSB if you're going to have him as a shooting one. Then he's also going to have a Wizard Adept Mage with the Book of Arcane Mastery. That's going to give him that +2, the first one that he casts, and that's going to be Cosmology. And then he's come down. He's going to have a couple of Spear units. He's also going to have 1 Archer unit, max unit of the Flame Wardens with the Rending Banner, a Reaver Chariot, 1 Eagle, actually 2 Eagles, and he's going to have that Queen's Guard, and the Banner of Becalming. That one never seems like it's as good as it is until it actually works against you, and you keep losing all those Veil tokens. So I really like that in here on the Queen's Guard. And then he has 3 bolt throwers to back everything up from the back. So overall, I really like this list because he's going to force people to come in, and then he's got a lot of things that people really don't want to deal with the Flame Wardens. He's going to have a couple of Spear units. So I think this is a really well-rounded list. And then if we move over for Jeff, who's reviewing Jeff's list?
Jeff's reviewing Jeff's list.
Perfect.
So, nothing unique here. This is what I took to ETC. I've just been really busy in the UK. So, Weaver of Change with the 4-up regen, the Ether one. So, positive casts and successful dispels on a 4+. I'm going to gain attacks, so the goal is to get up to 11, 12 attacks. The Harbinger's on a Palanquin. He's got the Nauseating Aura, so any unit touching him is initiative 1, which is nice. Big block of Tallyman with the Rending Banner, and they also have the Poison on a 5+, and a regen of 4+. So a tough unit to crack. Little block of Horrors. They do cast the Taumaturgy spells with the champion. And then a Blood Chariot for a cannon, Blazing Chariot for divine shots. Couple Clawed Fiends, which are my War Machine hunters. Little bit of Chaff with Furies. And then a block of Crusher Cav. So it's done me well so far. I wish I could get another unit of Chaff in there, but I haven't been able to. I'm not too worried about the bolt throwers, they haven't done what they're supposed to do against the greater demon in any of my combats, because it's usually 4s to hit, 4s to wound, and then I get a 4 up. So I've been pretty successful with that. And then I can put them behind the knight, Crutchel Cavalry, and now it's 5s to hit at long range. So, and the Harb's got a couple spells from divination. So usually I'm bringing, hard target distracting and plus or reroll the hit with divine attacks. So, and then with the Comet, when I get into combat, he's going to have to decide stop Comet or stop the divine attacks. So it'll be an interesting matchup.
Yeah, I think actually your list, Jeff, is the list that I like the most from all the lists. Is my most favorite list. I think it's a really terrifying list to play against. But also know that Justin is a very defensive player. He's a very methodical player. So I think it's going to be a bloodbath, really tough game. But I think it's going to end up slightly up for Justin, like 12 or 13 for him.
What's the matchup the first round? I forgot. What's the scenario?
It's going to be Dawn and King of the Hill.
Oh, it's King of the Hill? Okay.
I thought I'll have to look.
No, you're probably right.
You're going to be able to get into combat really quick. I think you're the favorite one. But he's going to be dancing around you, or trying to dance around.
Oh.
I think his challenge is going to be the magic missiles that hurt him, right? Those 2 Thaumaturgy magic missiles hurt.
Yes.
And those divine shots, right? I can stand back and shoot his 4 aboard saves, and they're having to reroll.
Okay, you know what? Never mind. I think you're going to win it.
Right. On the Blazing Chariot to his 30 on the archers and 48 on the bolt throwers. Your cannon is actually, you have to shoot a bolt thrower more or less. I think it might have been on who gets first turn. I think it has eventually very close. Like the horrors are going to be annoying, but they don't have far seeing, so they're also 24. So sort of going to be out of range for a lot of things. Like basically, Jeff, in order to cast a lot of magic missiles, aside from out of horrors, has to put his big bird in threat range of bolt throwers and other things.
But also in the scenario, he's going to cut off piece of the map, right, in the deployment.
Right.
So if he's going to be choosing the deployment side, he's going to make Justin kind of compact his list and in the most awkward position possible.
Yeah, it works both ways.
Which also, for combat purposes.
Yeah, Comet's going to be...
It's going to be great because everything is going to be actually starting getting closer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jeff,
I'm going to Jeff.
Have you guys played these lists against each other before?
No, Justin and I haven't. No.
Well, I'm really interested to see how this one turns out. I still think it's slightly in Burgy's favor, but it also depends on the deployment and the shooting on his side.
Yeah, and Burgy's a real good player. Don't get me wrong. So it's going to be definitely a stress match. Luckily, we're really good friends. So
he's just like Durham,
All right, perfect. So let's move on to the next one, which is going to be Ryan and Jeremy. All right. For
Jeremy and Pablo.
No, Ryan.
What's that?
Ryan, Dorsey, and
Let me pull this up.
No, 5.
Oh yeah. Never mind. Yes, there are 2 Jeremys.
All right, so for Ryan, his mage is going to be his general, and he's wizard master. And with him, he's going to have the Order of the Fiery Heart and Essence of the Free Mind. And I do like having the Essence of the Free Mind, which gives him the choice of alchemy or pyromancy, which makes it really strong. Whichever matchup he's on, he'll be able to pick the spells that he needs. He's also going to have the Queen's Companion Commander with the Battle Standard Bearer, and letting his unit be the quick to fire, so move and shoot. He's going to have 1 unit of archers, and then he has a couple of reavers for chaff. As we go down, he's trying the Sea Guard, which I know some people don't like the Sea Guard, but I still think the Sea Guard can be pretty strong, especially if you can keep them in the right matchups for combat. He also has some Flame Wardens, 24 of them with the Rending Banner. He's going with 10 Knights of Rima, and this one, I know he's been doing this for a while now, practicing it, and I do like that if he loses a few Knights, those are still going to be packing a pretty big punch when they come in and hit. And he's got the Banner of Becalming as well. And then he's got 1 Reaper, Sky Sloop, and then the Fire Phoenix on there as well. All right, and for Jeremy...
So Jeremy's gone with the full Corn or Wrath makeup, right? So he's got the Scourge, got the nasty sword. He went with +2 on the armor instead of regen, and then he went with the Black Orb. So that's going to be a wasted item this battle because there's not going to be any divination. Little blocks of Slaughterers, so he's going to have a lot of little scoring units. Couple units of Furies, which at strength 5 they can be nasty on their own. 2 Blood Chariots, which is against monsters is great, and then 2 good blocks of Crusher Cavalry at 4 each, and then last a Demon Engine. So I think here he's going to move up behind the Demon Engine with the Scourge, and then pounce on you and beat you up. So. I would have loved to have seen some Hounds in here to come up the backside. I really like Hounds or MR3. But I think overall this is a nasty little list.
And this is a fast list. I mean, he's going to be on him very quick.
Yes.
Going back to Ryan's list, I mean, he's got some chaff, but I don't know if he's got enough chaff, and he definitely doesn't have enough shooting to get what he needs taken care of before he gets there. So Ryan's going to have to be very careful with his deployment.
He has a solid amount of shooting in that list, I think.
Well, he has two fast cav units, the Elerian Reavers, and then he has the
Fireborn Bird.
Remember the Sea Guard shoot too.
Yeah,
and they stand to shoot.
And the Sea Guard are probably going to be quick to fire with that BSB, so...
And if you have a model within 12 inches, they can stand and shoot against that...
Before anything happens.
Before any reaction even. So he can put the cavalry, the light cav within 12 inches, you charge them, he stands and shoots with Sea Guards, and then he flees with the Reavers. And then he has a faint flight, so he rinses and repeats.
Yeah, and those blocks of Slaughterers really don't like bow fire at toughness 3.
And there's not many of them.
No, there's not. And that's where his scoring units are at.
And the BSB strength 5. So
are the Crushers, they're scoring too, aren't they?
Yes.
They are, but if he uses those for scoring, that's a big chunk of his fighting not in the game.
The issue with Crushers in this matchup, I think, is going to be that Ryan is going to get the charge off. And I think if that happens, he's probably going to win that. More likely than not.
Yeah, especially with those Dragon Princes. They hit like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, they hit so hard, and they're so fast. And if he gets one Alchemy spell off, I mean, or maybe he goes Pyro, but I would assume he's going Alchemy.
I think that's the really big question, is Pyro or Alchemy here.
Oh,
You've got the Scourge that Alchemy would work against, and then the Crushers, but Pyromancy against all the rest of the list could be really tasty too.
Blood Chariots have a 3-up, and Slaughterers have a 4-up.
I think Alchemy, because for the things that don't have armor save, he has a lot of archers and light shooting. And against the stuff that have armor save, Alchemy works great. So it kind of complements the list in this situation.
How fast are those Crushers?
They're 7.
Oh, so he's going to really outrange those Crushers with the Knights of Rima.
Yep.
So I'm going Ryan on that.
And they're Fireborn too. So the cannons, the cannons shoot at the Sky Sloop that's hard target.
Oh, isn't the Phoenix Fireborn as well?
Yes.
Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, he's got 2 things that are Fireborn against his cannon.
He's got 2 of those cannons too.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give a slight advantage to Ryan. I was actually thinking it was Jeremy, but after we talk about it, I think he may do a little bit better.
Yeah, I'm leaning Ryan too. I mean, Jeremy's a good player, but I think that's going to be a tough matchup for him.
I think Ryan need to have good positioning, or else it could go bad fast. Because again, a lot of the stuff that Ryan has is ranged as far as power.
All right, so let's see. The next matchup is going to be Jeremy and Pablo. Pull this up here. So, Warriors of the Dark Gods. Who is reviewing those?
I think you shunted that to me.
Oh, perfect.
That's funny.
So yeah, Warriors. He's starting off with an Exalted Herald, the old demon prince that's stubborn, has lots of wounds, and can potentially do 2 different things out of a long list of buffs. And then he also has a sorcerer who's flying around on the Sky Chariot with a 3-up, 4-up regen, and the Ledger of Souls, so potentially trying to generate Veil tokens off of dead warriors, and Alchemy. For the rest of the list, I was actually kind of, I mean, it is very much so a warrior list. There are, you've got the 30 warrior block with the Flaming Standard doing the reroll to wound thing in close combat with the Alchemy. And then you've got 2 units of Chosen maxed, 5 each, and one of them does have a Flaming Banner and the other one doesn't. And last but not least, you've got the Hellmaw. So on the whole, it's very much so a beat-face list. It's got the Hellmaw with the 2 gateways. So to start with, you might have some shenanigans happening as far as the warriors being able to move a lot farther than normal infantry should. The big downside, though, is I think I counted it out, and there's like 73 wounds total in the list. And a lot of that is locked up in multiple wound monsters. So it is a very small list, but very concentrated as well.
All right, and for Pablo's list?
Do you want to go for it? What? Do you go for
No,
it?
you.
I go? Okay.
In this list.
This list is extremely competitive, okay? Not like my fluffy
It's
list.
the fluff list.
Okay, so what we have over
Exactly
here.
the same, except for I have Magical Heirloom and my BSB is a shield.
I've seen this list before.
Yeah, it's a wow.
I
Yeah,
should have paired them up together for the first round.
Oh,
Skaven duplication at its finest. Kill one and suddenly there's another one.
yeah. See, yeah. I mean,
So do you want us to go through it again, Mike?
No, not really.
Oh, for gods.
it's not my fault. Not my fault. It kind of is.
It kind of is, yeah. It kind of is. I warned you about it. If you're gonna borrow my Skaven, I may borrow your list.
So, Pablo, what are you thinking about all this teleporting that's going to happen with your gun line?
Well, we'll see. I might have actually played a very similar list and maybe the exact same person online. So I at least kind of know what to expect.
Yeah, the Warriors of the Dark Gods list is extremely extreme offense. He's going to be trying to get into combat right away. If he can't be in the combat with most of his units by turn 2, then he's losing this game really hard. That's my opinion on the subject.
There's way too much toxic in the Skaven list for this to be an easy matchup for the Warriors. I mean, I know I've seen some people talking about how, it's a gun line and all the rest of it. This list can, eat the paint off of models with the amount of toxic attacks it has. And again, you're doing the whole -1 toughness either on the Warriors or the Karkadon Riders, and they don't like the getting hit with the Jezels. They don't like getting hit with the Doom Wheels, or the Dreadmills, and the Plague Catapults. So, yeah, the Warrior is going to need to pray to the Dark Gods for a lot of ones at key times, and then maybe he has a good shot of getting into combat. But otherwise, there are not a lot of wounds.
So you're leaning towards Pablo on this one?
I think so. Like I said, I think it could go either way, and dice game. So we'll see what happens. But yeah,
I mean, when you take out the Hellmaw with those Dreadmills, now he's just got 3 units on the table that can't bounce around. So, I mean, I like Jeremy's list, but it can be very limiting.
Yeah, the thing is also
Jeremy's list.
Hereditary Spell is AP2, Hand of Heaven is AP2 or AP3, Trial of Faith, AP10.
Right.
So, and the other big thing is Pablo has the chaff that he can throw over a portal to potentially just totally shut it down. And yeah, you can do D6 Strength 4 wounds to it, but the giant rats won't care. So
you killed 6 giant rats. You just got yourself 20 points.
And it's wasting an entire turn, so I wouldn't expect the teleportation to work super effectively against this list. It depends on how it's played, though. I will say that.
Yes. And also you said a lot of ones. I think if he rolls also too many sixes, it can also hurt him. Because 6 on the weapon team is -1 to hit. Double 6 is the weapon is broken and can be, it can be used, right? If you roll double 6.
It's a misfire.
Yeah. Oh, you have to roll normal for misfire? Okay.
For volley guns?
Yeah. No, for weapon teams.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, all you need to do is just have him roll 666s on a thaumaturgy spell, and
easy,
right?
Yeah.
But Skaven never misfires, so you don't have to worry about that.
Never.
Never, ever.
Absolutely never.
Almost saving him up, so we'll see.
All right, so let's go to the next matchup, which is going to be James against Wesley.
All right. For James, he's going to be playing Empire of Sonstal. He's going to have a Marshal General with a pistol, Ghostly Guard, Winter Cloak. So he's going to have the Distracting 5-up, 2-up against Flaming. And he's going to be on the Great Griffin. So he's going to be a solo character flying around over there. He has a Marshal that's Battle Standard Bearer with Black Steel, so on foot. So he causes Fear, Prelate with Alchemist Alloy, Artificer with Long Rifle, a Wizard Master with Cosmology on the Arcane Engine with the Foresight, so lightning reflexes within 6 inches. 37 Heavy Infantry with Rending Banner and Spear. 20 light infantry with handgunners, with a champion that also has a long rifle, marksman pennant, so he doesn't take any penalty for silent shoot reaction. 20 handgunners again with also the same long rifle, but no banner there. 2x3 Knights of Sun Griffin, but they have no command, so no musician, nothing at all over there. 2 times, I know how to pronounce them, Riders.
What?
Raiters.
Oh, yeah. Raiters.
They have brace of pistols each, so and vanguard of light troops and all that, faint flight. So when they're charging, they're going to be having 2 attacks, strength 4, AP2 at initiative 10. He has a cannon and a steam tank, which has also a cannon with strength 7. And he's going to be fighting against Wesley, who's doing story maintenance.
So Wesley's got a nice warlord build. He's got the Kingslayer, so definitely wants to attack other characters. He's got a potion of swiftness, and then Tarasar's vigor, right? So that's going to give him 4 health points, plus 1 armor. So he's going to have a 1-up, 5-up with the Talisman of Shielding, strength 5. So good little low general. Then he put a Skink Captain on a Taurosaur with the engine, so we can get that 5-up ward save against shooting. He's got the Dragon Staff, and then that Taurosaur is going to do 2d6 on the Stampede with Spirit of the Stampede for the impact hits. Just a little Skink Captain, probably for chaff. Skink Priest on a Palanquin with the Sun Tablet, so he can have all the Druid spells. And then again, Arcane Mastery, he'll get +2 to cast on that first spell he casts. Good-sized block of warriors with serpents and spears, so he's going to be fighting in 4 ranks. So he can go 7 wide, not lose his ranks, and still fight with 28 dudes, which is really good. Temple Guard, got a block of those with the Mixoatl banner, so that's going to make first round of combat, the unit's going to have -3 offensive skill. So that's really good for those Temple Guard to hit. Unit of Skink Hunters, and then we get into another unit of Pterodons. 3 weapon beast teams, 1 each, 2 spearbacks, and then 1 salamander, and then a unit of ramphidons, 4 on those. So overall, a couple big blocks, monster to support them from shooting, and then little stuff, little bit of chaff. That's how I see it. And then the weapon beasts, which are just annoying.
What do you think of the Temple Guard without the frog?
They're still stubborn with the.
Yeah, he'll put the general inside there, so they'll be stubborn.
I think it makes them a little bit more one-minded in their purpose, because usually with the Toad, you're wanting to try to protect those points. You're trying to protect him, so you're holding them back. Right now, he's weapons free. He wants to go find the biggest, baddest thing and go beat it down. So I kind of like it. I mean,
I think the matchup kind of comes down to how quickly Wes can take down the cannon. Because
I think that James needs to thank me because I used up all the 5-up word save that Wes got on his BG in the last game. He got 9 of them in the row for my treadmills. So yeah, I think he used all his luck on that game.
I think the steam tank could be kind of a big X factor in this, because Wes doesn't really have anything that is good against tanks, I don't think, as far as having AP and being able to go in there.
If he marks him with a toad and goes in with those ramphidons, those lethal strike, re-rolling to hit, and then all those lethal strikes can cause problems, and you get an extra D3 attacks on each one of them.
What does the steam tank do for combat attacks?
grind attacks.
Grinding.
3D3 grinds.
And he's a breath weapon, potentially.
Strength 2, AP3. Breath.
3. So the breath weapon could be kind of nasty for fending those guys off, but again, you could also roll double ones there and have it do nothing. So
James also got the cosmology, so he can take them down really with the missiles. And the cannon with the artificer is going to be hitting on 2s even.
hey, Mike, do you scrolling up on the list?
Sure.
What is James using as far as his combat? Just
You're breaking up. I couldn't hear what you said, David.
the marshal. Sorry, not the marshal. The proud buff wagon. What is he using as his main combat block? Is it the heavy infantry again?
You're breaking up terribly.
Anyway.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just carry. Oh, it is the heavy infantry. Okay. Yeah, being able to, I don't know, the Temple Guard could do some horrible things against that if they get in there.
I think the thing is James has a constant pressure advantage in the matchup, and I think that, like, odds are, with 2 cannons, he has a good shot at killing the BSB in the first 2 turns.
The weakness may be the salamander and the marshal that's going to be flying solo over there with 3-up, 5-up. Maybe Wes can do something against him. Yeah, Fireborn, but Salamander can take off his infantry units, like heavy infantry, yes. And the spearbacks.
The Salamander are 20 effective, and all his guns are at least 24.
Yeah, so he's going to. Yeah. I favor James over here, unless Wes can roll his 5-up like he did last game.
All right, so it looks like James with a slight advantage, unless Wesley's really lucky with his 5-ups.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree on that one.
All right, so let's move on to the next matchup. So we are going to have Jake and Gabe. So 2 elves here. All right, so for Jake's list, he's going to have the Dread Prince of Yima. He's going to put him on a Raptor Chariot with the Midnight Cloak, Basalt Infusion, Transcendence. I really like this kit. That's really similar to what I'm running with my Dread Prince, and he's just a huge threat to pretty much anything large out there with those D3 wounds on the charge. And it's so hard to get him shot down or magic down with that 3-up against really anything ranged. He's also running the Altar with the Yima and BSB. With that, it's going to have the Morax Reaping, Lucky Charm. So this gets to I believe, a 3-up armor save, and then 4-up Aegis. Coming down the Oracle, so we have the Wizard Master, and she's also going to be Yima. So she'll be running the Witchcraft, and he has the Binding Scroll, which I know everybody's not a huge fan of, but I really like the Binding Scrolls, especially if you can get 2 of them in the list. And then coming down to his core, he's going to have 3 Legionnaires, 2 bigger units and 1 kind of smaller one. Dancers of Yima, 21. He'll have the Dark Acolytes, which they're going to have the champion on there. So they're going to get, with Yima, they're going to get the stuff from Occultism. And 1 unit of Harpies for Chaff, and 3 Dread Reapers on there. All around, I think this is a really solid list. He's going to definitely put pressure on for people to close in. And he's got a lot of stuff that are single models that can really affect combats and how they go, especially with these Legionnaires giving them some rank bonus and bringing in either the altar or the chariot in with them. All right, and for Gabe?
All right, so Gabe's running Sylvan Elves, and so starting off with his general, that's the Dryad Ancient with Divination and Scarred Bark for the Hatred. She's going to go ahead and be probably playing with the Dryads, so giving that big unit of 26 Dryads Hatred. And then next up, you've got that Forest Prince, who's a little higher there. So Psycho Pete is what Gabe likes to call him, and he's pretty much a shapeshifter running around on his own with a 4-up, strength 7, paired weapons. So you've got the AP 3, I believe it is, on that, and then immunity to stomps and +3 to defensive skill in the duels, and last but not least, a 2-up Aegis for all those flaming attacks.
You're acting like you don't know, and that's your build.
Yeah, well, it's a thing. So then you also have at the top a druid, and she's going to be a wizard master using shamanism. So you've got a lot of those, beasts coming in from the side, and then all the other fun things that shamanism does. And then the magical heirloom, which gives him his hereditary spell, which allows him to put 1 of his units in and make it count like it's in the forest. And lastly, as far as characters, he's got a Thicket Shepherd, about halfway down, there we go, who is just a BSB with Toxic Spores, and he's going to be in with the unit of 5 Thicket Beasts at the bottom. And so that's going to be a stubborn, scoring, strength 5, lethal strike block of nastiness. And then kind of swirling around that, you've got a bunch of other little kind of light units. So you've got 2 units of Heath Riders with bows running around shooting things at strength 4-foot range. You've got 10 archers. And then also at the very bottom, you've got Sylvan Sentinels, so poison shots. And then you also have the 2 Eagles. And rather than doing 2 different units, he did 1 unit with 2, which I actually really like because for 35 points more, you're getting double the wounds. And so it definitely makes it a lot harder to pick those Eagles up just as far as, easy chaff points. And so, yeah, it's pretty much just, and last but not least, I guess you also do have that Tree Father who is stubborn and a big monster. And also the Kestrel Knights who are there. You've got 3 of them vanguarding around and with the Banner of Silent Mist. So that's going to give them soft cover and hard target together, so harder to shoot off. And then as a sneaky trick, you can actually get them within 3 inches and your opponent can't use their musician. So it can really play havoc with if you need to be, a shooting unit needing a reform or anything like that.
And he has a musician in them also.
I really like that he's made a Sylvan Elves list that does focus a lot around combat and not just avoidance shooting.
Yeah, it's also kind of a very traditional list in the sense of it's got a lot of the different things that you would expect to have. You've got little scouting archers, you've got archers, you've got trees running around eating things, and, kind of a balanced character approach as well.
I think the biggest thing Jake has to worry about is Psycho Pete, because if Gabe can get Psycho Pete into either one of his characters, he's going to eat them.
Depends on witchcraft.
Yeah. The big thing I saw was that Treeman, it depends on how long she lasts, because she can do some horrible things to big infantry blocks. And yeah.
I think it's going to be a lot of positional battle because I think Gabe can't just go straight into combat and run into Jake's dreadnoughts. I think he needs to kind of get around him, clear out maybe his bow throwers with the Kestrel Knights, and then kind of try to get a combo charge on him. Not going one by one all in front, but kind of play around him, get around him, and then combo charge.
Well, because the shifters, the kestrels, and those Heath Riders are all very good at clearing out artillery. So if they can clear out the artillery, and then you all of a sudden have the treemen
And shamanism.
and shamanism as well with the beasts. So,
but I think it's going to be actually really one of the closer ones that we have, because Jake's list negates a lot of the Sylvan advantages of it's all Strider. First of all, and the altar is going to give you +1 to wound base, and then you're really just trying to stop wheel turns almost every turn, and then he's a lot of ways to get roll to wound. So it's not like totally straightforward because none of them I don't think have enough shooting to really force someone else to get in a terrible position. But I do think that Gabe has a chaff advantage, and it's going to really get on those bolt throwers quickly, I bet. And I really like the changes he made to his list. I think it made it a lot stronger.
Yeah, the witchcraft is going to be a pain in the rear, really.
Very good lore. Very good lore. He's so fast.
Both witchcraft for Gabe and shamanism for Jake. It's going to be both are going to be really pain in the rear.
I think Strider everything is very, very good. And those spears are AP3 with Academy banner. So I think
too.
I think it's a very good list. I think it's.
Yeah, I think there's a really close matchup, and I think there's going to be a lot of stuff dead at the end of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. A lot of dead elves.
Although I think there's going to be more dread elves dead at the end. I think they have more bodies that are not having too much armor saves.
All right, so let's move on to next matchup.
Neil.
All right, Neil and Rob.
Oh yeah. So Neil has a pretty nasty beast lord who has the horn, the hunting call, and he also has the crown of horns and a 5-up Aegis, kind of fireborn. Really tough to kill, I think, in combat, and is just very solid overall. Each chieftain BSB with a binding scroll, so his list does feature 2 binding scrolls, and then a greater totem bear. I think that the totems he's picked in list are actually really good. He has the greater totem bear, and then he also has the Blackwing totem on his centaurs with the speed banner. So that unit has a crazy threat range, super fast, and then he also has a soothsayer with Dark Rain on shamanism and a binding scroll. So very anti-shooting, or I like range in general. And then a unit of 36 mongrels, 10 raiders. That seems kind of chaffy, sort of shoot other chaff. And then 2 ambushing Wildhorn units, 1 with throwing weapons, so trying to kill war machines and static things that are having a tough time defending themselves. The centaurs, some gargoyles as chaff, 27 longhorns, a raiding chariot, and then a Gortok.
All right, so more Sylvan Elves. Rob's list is kind of different. It's got a lot of big Griblies. So you've got, starting off with that Avatar of Nature as the generals. And then you've got kind of a fast-moving chieftain. Spirit of the Whirlwind, Curse of the Black Stag equals a lot of, on paired weapons, is a lot of strength 6 attacks on the charge. He's not running him as a Wild Hunter, though, so he's not going to be getting the battle focus. He also has a Prince on a dragon with Titanic Might. So again, you're seeing that Wood Elf Prince mixed with the Titanic Might. Rob is running 2 units of Dryads at 15, which are really nice scorers, able to deal with a lot of light chaff and other light scoring units, and then 3 units of Sylvan Archers for some decent range support. He's also running Forest Eagle. 2 Forest Eagles, a 3rd big monster, and then the Wild Huntsman running around doing their lots of kills thing. With the banner that essentially gives them distracting on the charge, so they're going to be trying to charge things and kill them all in the first turn when they've got the advantage there.
And I see we have Pete on here. Pete, you with us?
Yeah. Yeah. What's up, guys? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah. Welcome to the broadcast.
Awesome. You want me to do any, or what's going on?
We're actually getting towards the end here. So we're on the Beast Herds with Neil and Sylvan Elves with Rob. I do hate to tell you that everybody voted against you for winning against David.
Hey, I voted for you, Pete.
I'll make that unanimous.
All but David. He said you were going to win.
Oh, see, there we go. See, that's how dwarves do it. That's why dwarves are the only good guys in 9th Age.
If you start putting bets on this against himself, I'm not going to allow them.
David and I got a little system going on.
All right. So what do you guys think of the matchup here with Neil and Rob?
Rob is my second most favorite list over there. No magic, in your face, 7 elves.
He and his brother brought drinking lists.
We are at a brewery.
Push forward, boys. I love it.
They played for the terrain where they're going to be playing.
Exactly. I actually think Rob has a pretty solid matchup in this because he's probably going to get the charge off and doesn't actually care too much about ambushers. He's just very fast threats that can't be chaffed against other things that aren't necessarily relying on rank bonus, or you can kill enough in mass that it's not going to matter.
I think the big thing is those ambushers might pick up a lot of the scoring units in the backfield. He does have the 3 archers for the ambushers to deal with, and Neil does have some things that can deal with monsters. So I don't know. I think this could be a good matchup, especially early. So there hasn't been much time for drinking. I think the positioning is probably going to be a little bit better for the Wood Elves than it might be later. But yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty big fight. So
I'm going with Rob just because he had the bold balls to take a strat. That's awesome.
Sorry, Pete, we're not able to hear you very well. What'd you say?
Did you hear me?
No.
A little louder.
Am I cutting out?
You're talking through a snorkel.
Don't be so shy.
He's driving.
Well, we'll let Pete get where he's going here, and we'll move on to the next list. All right, so we have Cody and Josh.
all righty. So just a second. Equitane. All right, we'll just go off of yours. So starting off with, you've got a Duke on the Hippogriff, and this one's got the Virtue of Valor and Crusader's Salvation. So you're going to be getting, anytime he issues challenges, they have to be accepted, regardless of whether or not you're a Cowardly Skaven or a Champion or a Toad or whatever. You also are going to be getting rerolls to hit and wound in those challenges, and then a 2-up armor save with a reroll from the Crusader's Salvation. He's also playing with the Tristram's Resolve, so that's +1 strength and armor piercing and attack value. And then also with the Potion of Swiftness, he might be able to strike first and wipe out a lot of those nasty weapons like pretty much you're seeing on all of these characters, from the, Jeff's Greater Demon Aether Wand to a lot of them. You also have a BSB who happens to be on a Pegasus, and he's sporting the Oriflamme and the Virtue of Daring. Pegasus is kind of an interesting choice here. He can either put it in with the Pegasuses later or with the Knights of the Realm, and because of the different base size, he's going to be off on the side and won't be stealing impact hits away from those Knights. Also, I could see that being a really good place for it due to the fact that the Virtue of Daring is going to be giving him maximized Swift Stride, so 4 dice trying to get the dice that he needs to get the charges. The fact that he's also giving out the Rally Around the Flag and denying it to people is a good thing. Last few characters, you've got a Druidism Master on a Warhorse, and she could either ride with any of the Knights, but probably is going to be in with those Grail Knights, because everybody knows healing back Grail Knights it's pretty good. We already kind of touched on the 15 Knights of the Realm, so that's going to be 15 impact hits. And then he's got a couple of smaller units of aspirants. You've got the 9-man unit that's kind of a normal size lance, and then a Chaffee 5-man unit. And then you do have the Grail Knights with the power in the list, and the Pegasus Knights. And then a kind of a shout out to the Green Knight, who he doesn't deploy the way that you normally would expect. He's going to be brought on during future turns, and it's going to be kind of a stubborn, almost super chaff. Can't really be shut off at early turns, and then is going to pop up right in front of whatever he needs to be in front of. And especially if he can get some of that healing, he can stick around for a long time.
You've gotten pretty good with that Green Knight and the strategies on him.
Yeah, I love the Green Knight. I think he's a little bit overcosted for what he does still, but as far as what he does, between the terror and the high strength attacks for being able to hunt monsters if you need him to, he's pretty good.
And showing up at the worst time possible for your opponent.
Oh, of course. That's what he needs to do.
You can snipe him off before that. And these cards.
Yeah, then we have Josh's list. He has a lot of paired weapons in this list. I think he's worried about parry overall. It's basically in a chariot with paired weapons, such a greatness, Aegis Infliction, so just the 4 Fortitude, and then also the Crown of Horns. Then he also has a Mino Chieftain, who I actually really like this build. He has a Totem, a Shield Breaker, Wild Form, Potion of Swiftness, so he can be up to Strength 8?
Oh, no, he's at the
No, Strength 6, though,
yeah.
with Shield Breaker on paired weapons. So that's pretty scary for most things. And also Agility 8. And then a Soothsayer on Chariot.
Beat so up.
Also kind of, yeah, he's been here. And then also kind of fighty with the Ancestral Carvings. And just tough to kill with the reroll to wound. I actually really like that build. And then a unit of Ambushing Wild Turds. He does have Hunting Call, so it would be first turn with reroll. 2 units of 3 Raiding Chariots for the characters to go in. And then 7, 6, 5 Minotaurs with paired weapons. And then 2 Razor Tusk Herds and 5 Centaurs. My biggest gripe with this list is there are no musicians on the Minotaurs. I think that's going to cost a game. I just think it's I think musician's the most important piece of command in most.
Yeah, that's going to limit his ability if anybody gets around him.
Yeah.
What I don't like in Cody's list is I don't like that his general is on the Hippogriff. I like them more on the Pegasus, so he can hide them, because 2 up, 5 up, running around solo on the map, he's gonna have to hide this Duke a lot of times, and that's a shame. There's a 600, almost 700 points hiding behind the hill in a lot of situations. But other than that, I don't think Josh has a lot of armor piercing in his list.
He does. That BSB with the 8. He's going to need to get Cody's going to need to get the duelist into there to destroy that shield breaker, or else
he should be able to.
Oh yes, Cody's list against Josh's is great. I'm just talking about generally as a list for having a Duke on the Hippogriff. I don't like it, but other than that, I think he's going to have a good time against those beast herds.
Charges are going to be really, really important. So he's got plenty of 2 of chariots.
What was that, Pete?
Okay.
I think what Pete's saying is the charges are going to be important, because either you've got the chariots or the knights both needing that charge.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, it's a little better.
Okay. Am I too soft?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, so I'll just talk loud then. mean, this is obviously a maneuver. This is going to be a big maneuver fight. So you've got these two bricks of chariots and the Minotaurs. The Brett player has some nasty knights. He's got the Man of the Last Charge, Realm Knights, and then the Trail Knights. Whoever gets the charges off, that's going to really determine this, I think, because he doesn't have a lot of armor piercing, but the Minotaurs are strength 5, and they've got a bunch of attacks. If they get the charge off, they're going to eventually grind those knights down. And if he gets the charges off of those chariots, those impact hits, I think, will do some work on the knights. And then again, stick them, right? Perhaps. And the Brazilian player can't afford that. But if the Brett player gets his charges off clean, I think he'll blow through anything in that beast herd army. He just does not want to get bogged down.
And he's faster. But Josh does have 3 pieces of chaff. To really 1 and 2 if you count the Green Knight, but that's obviously not exactly the same.
Well, no, really any chaff because the Pegasus Knights you're wanting them to run around doing things.
Totally, I totally agree.
And the other thing is Cody has no shooting and very little offensive magic. He's got 1 spell that might be offensive, so there's not really a lot of chaff clearance.
So how are you calling this one, David?
Like Pete said, I think it's going to depend on whose dice happen to roll the 8 to 10 they need in order to get the crucial charges. So it's really close.
I think Cody.
Yeah, I'm Cody also.
2 inches extra range and swift stride.
All right, so let's move on to the next one. So we're going to have John and Noah. All right. So for John, Orcs and Goblins, I'm glad to see we have an Orcs and Goblins player this tournament. He's running an Iron Orc Warlord. He's going to have him on the Chariot, and he'll have the Shady Shanking, Basalt Infusion, Potion of Swiftness, and the Talisman of Shielding. So it's going to be a 1-up, 5-up. Unless it's Flaming, then he'll get the 3-up on it. He's going to have the BSB Orc Chief with a Pan of Pension Protection Pension, which I really love that item. I'm so glad that you can put that on Orcs now. Then he's going to have 2 Orc Shamans. Both of those are going to be Feral Orcs. I know those are working for some people. I'm always still a little nervous about having my Shamans in a Feral Orc unit because I really want those up on the front in combats, and it just seems like a lot of points to lose, especially with the Wizard Master one at 455 points. But he does have him kit him out with the Hero's Heart, so he's going to be putting out a lot of attacks there. So one's going to be Pyromancy. The Adept is going to be Shamanism. And then going down, he's going to have a unit of 29 of the Feral Orc Edbashers, and those are going to have the Rending Banner. He'll have the paired weapons on them. He'll have another unit of 23 of just the regular Feral Orcs, and they're going to be the Rending Banner as well. Then he's got a big unit of 29 of the Iron Orcs with the Green Tide, giving him fighting extra rank, which I think is exactly what the Iron Orcs need to get him a few more attacks going out. And I'm really curious to see how this next set works because I've never seen someone run 3 giants with the Wrecking Ball, but that is going to be very interesting to see 3 giants bouncing around the board, doing the random movement on there. I think you could do some really cool models with these giants that are supposed to be shambolic and running around. So I don't know how this is going to work. I think it would be a little too random for me, but it's a very classic Orc and Goblin list that I love that he put that in there.
Jurand is just sitting there like, oh my god,
I love it.
Just an Orc list, no goblins at all.
Oh yeah, that's right. There's not a single goblin in here. All right, and then let's move over to Noah.
All right, so Noah's going to go ahead and at the top you see he's got a Chosen Lord riding around on a wingless Chimera.
You're a little quiet, David. Could you get a little closer?
Any
Thanks.
better?
Yeah.
All righty, so that's going to be his general, and he's running the Burning Potent there along with the Basalt Infusion. So essentially he's going to have a 2-up armor with Fireborn, and then the... and then the 5-up for the Talisman of Shielding going into a 4-up. You then have the obligatory Exalted Herald, and then I haven't seen Noah running a chariot before here, but yeah, his sorcerer's on a chariot and using occultism
with plate armor.
Yeah, and the other, so the rest of the list, you've got some smaller units than the other ones. So you've got the Warhounds, 2 units of 10 warriors with chosen champions, and then you've got 2 units of Greed chosen knights with the Flaming Standard in there. And the Greed's actually kind of a nice addition because it gives them the access to a bunch of different weapons, so they can have great weapon, halberd, paired weapons, or even use the spiked shield. That's not going to give them armor, but would potentially give them some grind back on that. And then rounding out the list, you've got 2 units of flayers with the whips. And I don't know that the whips are going to be that useful this game because you've got those giants running around. But again, I think being able to have them there for chaff and then for just throwing -1 leadership and the sweep attack is potentially really good.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jurand.
For this particular matchup, I like the Noah's list very much. I think he's gonna have a good time, especially with his Lord being such a killer with D3 wounds. But I am absolutely in love with those 3 giants with random movements. I'm missing only 2 manglers for 5 random movements.
And some pump wagons. Dude.
And some pump wagons. Yes. Max out on random movement.
Jeez. You can tell someone is jonesing for his random moving doom wheels over there.
I just love that part of the game. But I think in this matchup, I'm heavily Noah. And I'm very objective over here.
It's going to be hard for the Orcs and Goblins to get through, I think, some of this armor on here. I mean, the Giants, with the downside of having the Wrecking Balls, is they're still only going to be Strength 5, so they don't get up to Strength 6.
I mean, the Giants can't flee, and Noah has a flying Lord that's going to do D3 wounds.
Yeah.
That's just going to, I think that's just a huge handicap. The Lord's going to go kill on a turn.
He's not flying.
What?
He's not flying. His Lord, he's not flying.
Oh, he's not flying, but he's March 20. The thing is, you just not able to flee, and with really no chaff in the entire list, I think Noah's going to just kill one of those a turn, and then has, I don't know if range advantage is correct, but yeah, it has some good stuff.
Can you go to the Warriors of the Dark Gods list again?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Noah does have
on his chosen Lord, he's got Burning Portent, but then why did he take Greed? Because that only works on a hand weapon.
I think he might have needed the extra points.
Points for Points for allotment.
Gives you 50 extra for special equipment, the magic items.
Actually, I don't know that he needs it because he's not running. He used to have that chosen Lord as his BSB, but as the general, I think he gets the full 2,000. So Greed might have been a slight misstep there.
Yeah, hopefully he knows that it's only for the hand weapons. So great weapons, halberds, and all that won't get that bonus.
It came down to, I think he basically had to cut points on the chosen Lord, put plate armor onto the sorcerer to give it a 2-up.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yes. So that's sort of the sacrifice he made.
Even though his flayers aren't going to do great against the Orcs and Goblins, I think that they're going to really help him so much with the chaffing that he's going to need to get the knights in where he needs them.
They're not going to kill a lot, but they're going to do great at being super chaff all game.
Absolutely, because they're March 20, aren't they?
Yeah. So they could get in the way of Orc, and because Orcs do have those big blocks, which ranks do count for a lot of things in this game. I mean, that's auto combat res.
I think also Noah's units of the cheap warriors, if they get into a flank one of those blocks, can really do a number on them. Because you got all the armor, they have parry, they have the shield block, and their swift stride and devastating charge +1 AP.
Well, I'm going to give this slightly to Noah. I think that he's got enough to handle the Ed Bashers and the Iron Orcs, which are going to be the 2 big threats in this list.
What are you talking about? Those Giants are going to be the winner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay? Am I coming through?
Not really.
Not really.
Well, I'm gonna. Can you? Okay, how's this? Is that better?
Not really.
Oh, no!
Pete, I think we're gonna have to catch you on the next one.
You hear the words coming out of my mouth? I'm going to disagree with all of you. I think the Orcs have got this. Pound for pound, point for point, I think the Orcs have some of the best infantry in the game right now. Those black Orcs with green side banner would mess some stuff up. They really will. They can go great weapon and be strength, 7 on turbo as long as I keep steadfast. And they're fighting an extra rank. And they're going to be offensive skill. I think they're supposed to 5 paired weapons with offensive sticks. Those bricks are no joke. I fought against them, and they can do a lot of damage. And correct me if I'm wrong, those Giants have a 360 charge arc effectively. Is that right? Because they move like a hell pit.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's strong. As far as his players go, dude has pyromancy and not much good targets for it. So I think what's the armor saving those players? Is that the lowest in the armor?
6 up.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's his pyro target, and that's what he kills with it. I mean, I don't think he's going to kill much else with it. So, clears a chaff with the pyromancy, then he's got some combat buffs. He's got three combat buffs, maybe 4, takes the one for pyro. If he gets those bricks to where he wants to, it's going to be rough. I mean, yeah, he's going to down Giants, but how many times can he head down in the 6th rounds of the game? I don't know. I'm not counting those huge bricks out, so I'm gonna go for the Orcs and Goblins on this one.
So since we can't hear really, Peter, I think that he's voting for Noah, right?
Game and democracy at work there, Jurand.
God damn it!
My biggest thing with the Giants is that you can lose control of them. They're symbolic, so if you roll triples, you're gonna do wounds to yourself and then go somewhere random, and like that can win you the game, maybe, or can mess up your battle plan.
All right, so let's move on to the last set of lists here. It's going to be Thomas and Joel.
Go Vamps.
All right, so this is the only vamp player. I'm kind of surprised we only have one vampire player.
Congratulations, Mr. Moulton, for winning Best Undead.
What's Pete saying?
Congratulations to Thomas Moulton for winning Best Undead overall. I got you.
Thank you.
And we know he's going home with a trophy.
Yep, he ain't going home empty-handed.
All right, so he's got the vampire counts. It's going to be Lamia. Has commandment, which I really like this commandment. He can move this count into any one of 3 units I see and just make skeletons or the barrow guard very tough. Has the Kingslayer in there. Destiny's Call. It's going to be a master with evocation. So this general setup is going to be a very tough one to deal with. Coming down to the Barrow King, it's going to be his BSB. He has Hero's Heart and Curse Medallion. He's went a little more offensive with his Barrow King than what I would typically do. I like mine to not die. He's definitely set this up to put out quite a bit of extra attacks. Then he's going to have a Adept Necromancer with the Heirloom, so he'll be able to raise and still have his 2 evocation spells. He's going to have Talisman of the Void on this, so he's going to have extra channel on that. Has 2 Banshees, which Banshees are great for a lot of things, and they can be great chaff that people don't see coming as well. I know they're 165 points, but it can make a big difference for the vampire player if they don't get double, triple charged on that one unit that they don't want to crumble out on. 2 units of 3 Bat Swarms. Anytime you have chaff like that, I think that's going to be good for him. I would have liked to see him have at least 1 unit of the other bats in there as well. Skeletons, he's going to have a unit of 33. They're going to be the Halberd, and then he's going to have a unit of 45, which is also Halberd, and they're going to have the Aether Icon. Coming down the Barrow Guard, also going to be Halberd, which I like that on the Barrow Guard. I think that's by far the best way to go there. He's going to have 32 of them, and he's going to have the standard giving them the +1 to hit. So I don't think that they even need the Lord in there because I think they do pretty good even without having the Lord. But if you put the Lord in at weapon skill 6, it's going to be a unit that's very tough to get through.
Yeah.
The court, it's pretty much a given with Lamia, and and not having your lord on that gives him some flexibility on what he wants to do with the court. That's going to have the 4-up Aegis, and then 2 spectral hunters. These are units I'm not exactly sure that they figured them out yet. I think with their last nerfing, it's kind of hard to make them work well. I almost think they should be 10 instead of 2 units of 5, but I'm not for sure. We'll see how he plays them. Overall, I think this is a very solid list. It's going to be one that is going to be excellent for taking objectives, and it'll be tough to get a lot of points off of. All right, and then we have Joel.
And he's Empire. So he's going to have a prelate with Basalt Infusion, Crown of Autocracy, Locket of Suna, on the altar of battle it's a 6-inch hatred with bounce spell Undying Strike from Divination. He has a marshal with great tacticians, so 2 orders per turn, Death Warrant and Black Steel. So that's great for all the units in the combat that are going to get battle focused, right? And he has a wizard with Book of Arcane Mastery, with Path of Divination, and another wizard adept with Path of Cosmology, and another wizard adept with Path of Alchemy. He has 20 heavy infantry, 17 handgunners, 17 crossbowmen. They both have musician. 10 state militia with skirmish, and 2 tens of state militia just regular. 32 Imperial Guards. With just hand up and shield with banner of unity. He has an arcane altar and with the foresight, an arcane altar with a shield. So 6 inches distracting and 6 inches lightning reflexes and a steam tank on top of that. So if you look at that all together, he has channel 6 in this list.
That's 2 extra dice every turn.
Exactly. That's the part that I love a lot. Now, again,
and a lot of buffs with those altars that Thomas doesn't have any way to get rid of.
Yes, unless he gets rid of the altar.
He can snipe them with evocation.
He can, but I think those are spells that he would go ahead and stop.
Wait, I'm sorry. His Imperial Guard does Starr. They just have hand weapon shield?
Yep, because they've alchemy.
They don't have great weapons?
No.
No. They're getting the lightning reflexes from the altar, and then the hatred, and
hopefully alchemy
and lightning reflexes,
or the thing of Uller, right?
I would have given them great weapons. That's kind of. I thought they did have great weapons. I think they'd be better with them.
But
it's kind of the difference between hammers and Deep Watch there. Having that 3-up armor save and the parry is really tough on Imperial Guard.
And he's going to get him +1 strength with that bound spell or something. He's got enough spells. They're going to be strength 5.
I mean, okay, strength 6, and you're hitting on initiative 3 or 4 with battle focus and hatred. You will
and lightning reflexes
stuff. That you could get the +1 strength off. You might, but I don't know. It'd be neat to have.
No,
I mean, it's still nasty, but they're also a hard target. Right, because you've got double altar on those guys. Am I wrong on that? He's got the lightning reflexes and the
distract.
Not hard target.
Not hard target. Right, I get you. -1 in close combat. So he's. I mean, they're also. It's hard to hit them back too. And the initiative. I mean, you think about in this matchup, if he gets the charge off, he's agility 4, and so he's going to.
That won't help with Lamia because he won't have any agility.
Right.
Does Lamia drop his agility? Oh,
by 3 if he's in with the vamp because of the court too.
And having that parry is going to make those Tomb Guard or whatever
Who cares?
Graveguard
hit on threes.
Nice OS 6.
Yeah, but they're going to be strength 5 hitting on 2s, so they're going to chew through a lot of those guys.
Wait, who's hitting on 2s?
Or
It's
3s.
actually hitting on 4s because of distracting on top of it.
Distracting.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Right?
Yeah, but distracting.
Oh yeah. I think that the Empire player is going to be able to kill probably the Code of the Dam, shoot it off, maybe the Spectral Hunters, the Bat Swarms, but I don't see how he's going to really deal with all the raising, bringing new units, and the rest of the Vampire army.
The Spectral Hunters will disappear from all that magic.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Spectral Hunters and the Code of the Dam from shooting, and that's it. And the Bat Swarms are going to probably die also, and that's all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be tough to get him really any major points off of Thomas's list.
I don't know. The vampires do have kind of a weakness versus parry sometimes, especially if they're really focusing on the minus to the defensive weapon skill. Because, again, with all of the parry that he's got, that the Empire player has, he doesn't really care about a lot of, make me defensive weapon skill 1. I don't see that the Empire player really cares that much. Mind you, if he can get one or two of those units stuck in between a vice of those heavy infantry and the Imperial Guard up front, that could also be kind of a quagmire that the Vampire doesn't even really want to bring anything else into. I mean, he does have a lot of the skills, so...
So are you giving it to the Empire player?
I think the Empire player could pull some strings and get something crazy happening. Especially with as hard as I think the Vampire player is not going to be able to get to those buff wagons. And that's the number one thing, is if you can kill the buff wagons, Empire guys are overcosted and not that good. But with the buff wagons, they're fighting like high elves and paying for them like goblins. So it's scary.
Oh, go Vampires, David, huh? Go Vampires.
I'm rooting for the player, but I have a lot of respect for what the Imperium can do.
Well, maybe it's just because I'm a Vampire player at heart, but I'm going to give Thomas a slight advantage on this one, just because I think he can outraise enough that I don't think that the buff wagons are going to overcome that.
I'm going to go Joel on this one.
I think if Thomas and Joel have a Death Star off, Thomas is going to win that every time. But I don't think that with these lists that it's going to happen, so I'm going to give slight to Joel.
All right, there you have it. That is all the list reviewed for Mayhem. Thanks so much, guys, for coming on and help me with this.
There's one more thing to try and guess, and who is going to win the drinking competition? I think between Jake and Rob, right? I think so.
Rob.
I'm going to give that to Rob, hands down.
Actually, yes, I'm going to go with Rob also, yeah.
Oh, I guess there is one more thing. Anybody have their standout for the most feared list?
I think I'm going to go with... I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure.
Do we pick that now, or do we pick it after we see how well they are used?
That's going to be at the very end of the tournament. So
I'm going with the Bloodthirster list.
Definitely on the watch with those demons.
I think Jeff's list is up there really high in the most feared list.
I thought both demons lists look really tough.
The big question is, if people are afraid of Jurand's list, does that mean votes for Pablo? Or are the rats going to be doubling up on that?
No, Jurand has a scroll. That makes his list a lot more.
Yeah, I'm not scared of Jurand's list because I have no armor.
Didn't you have to make your list to get the most feared list? Does that mean Pablo gets it either way if rats win?
See, you have to look carefully at those lists. One has a key component to it. There is a binding scroll in there that stops the Wrath of God. And the other one does have a shield on BSB. I mean, who cares?
That's all right. Magic missiles from tall things just kill those weapon teams.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing everybody next weekend. It's going to be a great tournament.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to it also. Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, guys. All right, bye.
Peace.
Bye.